And I understand that you were working as an international representative in the company. Can you explain to us what exactly you were doing in New Year in those areas?
Yeah, I said global responsibility. That means the process that I developed for R&D. Of course, it was developed in the United States, but then it was expanded into the Innovation Center in Luxembourg and the Innovation Center in Hanau in Germany. That's what I meant, and with global responsibility, and I kind of kept that responsibility. So I had to go there quite often, travel to those centers, both for education, for workshops, and so on, and for help with when they needed it. But to be quite honest, they did not need a lot of help. We had a very good education system at Goodyear, and very early on realized that the expansion and the sustainability of all this work is directly linked to education. And we did a very good job educating our own people. And to be quite honest, after I did the education in Luxembourg and in Germany, they picked up most of the work on their own, and that was good. That's how it's supposed to work, by the way. I'm still doing a lot of that today. I say I'm a consultant, but I'm really not a consultant. I'm really only a teacher. I like to teach people how to, so that they learn and then they can do it themselves. It's like rather than feeding the people. The World Bank has preached this for a very long time. You can feed somebody by giving him a fish, but you can also teach that person to fish and to be self-sustainable. And in the long term, the impact of that education pays off 1,000 times. And that's something I learned many, many times myself. So I'd rather teach and coach people to get started, and then they can do the work on their own. And okay, it's I eliminated my job there. That's okay. That did happen. So what? Then I just go and teach somebody else, or happily stay retired.
That's really interesting. All right. Now, in this course of training, in this course of creating Center for Innovation, of course, looking at new Goodyear where you have worked, were there anyone apart from Europe and America where you have this a Center for Innovation for training that you know of?
Well, at Goodyear, the decision was made to build a center in Luxembourg in the 60s, and that was a very good decision. And in the German center came from the merger of Goodyear with Sumitomo in the 90s. And Goodyear also has a center in China, in Shanghai, and a very small operation in Brazil. The reason that had to be done is to get closer to the customers. You can do the research in a central location, but let's call it intelligence, finding out what different parts of the world need. You could even do that market research by having a very small office in different places of the world. But if you want to get close to the customer, work with the customers directly and close with the customers, you have to be located close to the customer. And it's not enough that you just have a person there. You really, it helped a lot to manufacture the experimental tires in Luxembourg. And it helps a lot to have a test track in Brazil where you can then produce the tires in the plant in Brazil, and the next day have the customer out there and test the tires together with the customer on the test track that they have in Brazil. So that is the main reason. That was the driving force. The general research you could do in a central location, but not the direct work with the customer. And I think a lot of other companies have made very similar experiences. So, besides the rubber industry or beyond the rubber industry, so, or the tire industry.
And I'm talking specifically of Brazil and the center that you had there. What was that center actually doing? Was it to collect was it up to the point of producing the tires, or just collecting the material and then sending it over to the factory in the US? Or what role was that having that in Brazil?
Well, the tires, of course, are made in Brazil. Brazil has a very big car industry. A lot of big companies like Toyota, they build tires. They build cars in Brazil. So if you want to participate in that market, you have to produce the tires in Brazil. So and even though some of the engineers did the design work in the United States, there were engineers involved when the tire was produced in Brazil, the submission tires that then the customer would test, and then the testing was done with local engineers and the customers, and if changes had to be made, they were made directly in the plant in Brazil. So that's how that business works.
All right. Thank you for that. Before you were saying that Goodyear now produce more of racy tires. I don't know if I get that right. Was that what?
Yes,
Okay. Is
that's
there
what
any
I said.
explanation for that? Why they don't? Because a lot of people are still buying cars these days. Why did they have to shift to only racy tires?
Well, Goodyear has a very long history of racing, and Goodyear was very heavily involved in Formula One and also what was at that time IndyCar racing in the United States, mostly open wheel racing. And in the 90s, the decision was made not to support the open wheel racing anymore and concentrate on North American racing, which is NASCAR. That's it used to be called stock car. It's a different type of racing. It's not open wheel. It's cars that look almost like the cars that drive on the street. And it is a very, very popular sports event here in the United States, especially in the southern states of this country. And Goodyear made the decision to focus more on NASCAR then. And Goodyear has the exclusive with NASCAR, the exclusive tire supply, and those tires are produced in Akron, Ohio. Still produced in Akron, Ohio.
When you were still, of course, operating there because you were taking an important position there, when you want to go into a country to maybe, okay, in the case of Brazil, like you said, because there are a lot of big companies in Brazil who are participated in the market, and of course, it becomes justifiable if you want to invest millions of dollars in a company there. So maybe, for example, you want to enter the Italian market or the French market. What really are the decision that make you enter into some of these markets, or do you just go there because you want to make favor to the country?
Yeah, okay. Let's step back in history a little bit. Before the European Union was established the way it is today, Goodyear actually had a tire plant in Italy, and at that time, Goodyear had tire plants in many, many different countries. But then over time, with the new open markets and so on, a lot of those plants got consolidated. And but if you want to enter the market, like in a market in a new country, like let's take Italy. I'm sure Goodyear still sells a lot of tires in Italy. I do know that we worked a lot with the Italian car manufacturers, with especially Fiat, and well, Fiat pretty much owns the Italian car market. Now, that's how you would start working. You would submit samples to Fiat, and the Fiat would approve those tires. It was easier in the past. Mr. Ferrari had decided when he's still an independent company, he loved Goodyear and he wanted Goodyear on the Ferrari cars, but Ferrari since has changed ownerships, and but that's how you get into the automotive market. If you want to work in the renewal market, of course, that market has changed very significantly too. You get on the internet these days, by the way. That has become both in the United States and in Europe a major force. Buying tires, and it changed the market completely. People look on the internet for feedback on your products, and that's very important today. And they get all the options in one page, and they can get the feedback on performance, on price, and so on. It's very easy to do that kind of research now. And a lot of people do that research, and a lot of people do buy their tires online, and then they get shipped to a place that mounts them for them. And why not? That's one way. And of course, other ways are to work with big retailers or work with small shops, and many different ways. But I would not know any details anymore about how Goodyear would do business in these different countries.